if we are good to go. So I'll just wait until the green good to go. Okay, we are live and we have David Solnit with us. Woo, woo! Super excited for this one. Just a little bit to tie this into the whole program. I know it sort of seems to the casual observer that our sessions are on a wide variety of topics and sort of all over the place, but there is a reason to our methodology. So if you were here for yesterday's session, throw a hello in the chat if you were, with Shie and Jasmine and Kari. We did a lot of talking about using storytelling and art and design to make climate impact, and especially regarding environmental justice. And also, if you were at Jill's session on Wednesday, one of the days, we saw the graph from Yale Climate Communications, and we learned that climate apathy is a larger problem than climate denialism right now. The number of deniers has shrunk to a much smaller percentage, which is very good news. And most of the population is moving towards the concerned and alarmed part of that graph. However, there is still a very large percentage of the population that is sitting in the apathetic range. So they're aware of the climate crisis, they know what's going on, but they're not really willing to do anything about it. And we need that number to move much more towards climate action. And we know from research that people are more likely to move from climate apathy to climate action when they see their peers doing the same. And I think that's one of the reasons why group art projects are so impactful. Not only do you make a beautiful piece of art that is shown on all of the news articles in photographs about the conflict or the issue that you're raising, but people see how many other people are dedicating their time and effort to make that art. And hopefully they start thinking, wow, these people must really care. I care too, and I don't know what to do, but maybe I can be a part of making something cool like this. And so it starts to spread in a really joyful, artful way. So we've seen a lot of movements and organizations using climate art as a way to share the injustice people and animals are facing. We see it in a lot of movements. With the rise of social media, of course, more and more people are seeing these art pieces thousands of miles away from where the injustices are happening. And we're using art to bring these issues to light so that many more people can step up and take action. One example, we saw design art and social media being used as a way to highlight the conflict centered around Standing Rock. And so far, the plans to build that Dakota Access Pipeline have been halted or on pause, but there's still more work to be done. So we're definitely making progress. Climate art is definitely having a direct impact. One of the ways that it does that is it puts pressure on corporations and politicians to make wider systemic change. And we'll go a lot deeper in today's session on that with David Solnit, with lots more examples and discussion around how using art as part of a campaign can help win the narrative battle of the story and win positive change. And hopefully you all got my email yesterday or the day before, reminding us all to bring our art supplies. This is my really cool pen case, and I've got a notebook here. So we're gonna get our hands and whatever else dirty, depending on what kind of art you're making today. This is going to be a hands-on session. So we are so honored and excited to have David with us today. David Solnit is an arts organizer who has worked with social change movements over the last 25 years to use art as a key element in successful campaigns and powerful mass actions. He has spent much of the last decade popularizing arts in the climate justice movement, including working as 350.org's arts organizer for 5 years. And he is currently working with the Poor People's Campaign and grassroots climate justice and social justice campaigns. And so without further ado, I will hand the mic over to you, David, to tell us more about that and to get us art making today on this lovely Saturday afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody show him lots of love. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and super appreciate the invitation from Mark and Sarah to join you. And I wanted to share some stories about some arts making projects I've used as an organizer to help build movements and help win campaigns, but also thought, let's actually make some art and do one of these projects. So hoping everyone has a piece of paper, whatever size, and some art materials. And I'm gonna see if I can screen share and let's see, share. And tell you a story about how this idea for virtual banners came about. And let's see if this is working. Is my screen shared, Sarah?
Not yet. That's the not yet. So hit the share button probably in the lower right on your dialog box there. It's probably asking you which screen you want to share. And if you want to share any audio too, I think there is a checkbox for audio that we want to make sure to check. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Is that working?
Absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I'm going to tell a quick story and then see if we can get started making letters. And the story is I live in East Bay on Ohlone land. And in 2019, the Trump administration with the Army Corps of Engineers said they were going to dredge deep channels in the San Francisco Bay to allow bigger oil tankers to go to our 5 oil refineries. Those of us who are concerned about climate and environmental justice said that's a problem. People did some activism in 2019 around it, and in early 2020, we were gearing up for a big public testimony about it. We had planned a demonstration and an art build, but then the pandemic happened, so we had to cancel the public demonstration and the art build, and we had to figure out, well, what are we going to do? So we took the idea for doing an art build where we make art together that we use at a public demonstration or a public hearing, and we made it virtual. And so we asked for 110 volunteers, each one to make a letter to do what we call a virtual banner that we then sent to the Army Corps of Engineers. So each person, and we gave them open range to use whatever materials they want, made a letter, took a picture of themselves, and then we shared it online. But we also did a display. The top left is in front of a testimony of concern to the Army Corps of Engineers public hearing. So we're able to, even though we're largely forced to stay at home by the pandemic, kind of innovate. And to me, what was key is that we actually allowed an opportunity for people to do things physically with their hands. We got good news this November that the Trump administration and the Army Corps of Engineers withdrew the project in part from everybody's public opposition and great organizing. So that in a nutshell is a good story of innovating during the pandemic, keeping people making stuff with their hands, and getting the results we wanted. So there's a broad campaign right now called Build Back Fossil Free, saying that as Biden and Harris have announced they want to build back better, we want them to build back better, but also fossil free. So we thought if there's enough people, we could today have everyone take on one letter, choose a letter, and then make it ideally in the next half hour with whatever materials you make. We'll do a show and tell at the end of this session, but we'll also ask you to take a quick photo of yourself holding the letter, like the pictures in this screen, and send it to me, and then we'll combine it into a banner, and we'll share it both at the party, one of the sessions coming up this week, and also on social media and elsewhere. So I think, and I'm looking for support on this, I think
yes.
If people want to just maybe go numerically and put their see them pop up in the chat, a number and a letter, and let's see how many we get taken.
How many letters do we need?
19 letters. How many people do we have?
Right now, 24, and more people are trickling in. I guess everybody's got the weekend schedule where time doesn't really matter.
So what I would
It's casual.
Everyone pick a letter and enter, and let's go consecutive, 1, 2, 3 in the chat.
Can I have a B?
And after the letter's all taken, we'll go to, and you'll just do an image and we'll weave that into the design.
All right, Karen Lau is our first B. Natalie Kahn is our second U. We need an I. Do we have an I? Everyone's claimed letters, but nobody. Okay, Tanya wants the I. We need our first L. Did anyone claim an L? All right, Mark's got L. And a D. Could I get a D? Do you guys know Wheel of Fortune is still on? Katrina Little takes D. They're now doing Celebrity Wheel of Fortune.
And as people are continuing to take on letters, I'll just point to some of the ones in my little screen, which is on the bottom left, the woman holding the snake. That's just markers.
It's really cool.
The person next to that, who's my partner, Julie, gave hers from the recycling bin. It's all recycled packaging in a pizza box. The O with the oil derrick shows that you can integrate images.
Beautiful.
And then the A was done just with 2 pieces of recycled 8.5 by 11 paper taped together and a pencil, and that's it. So don't be daunted by working an image if you want. Think about what you can do in a half hour. Anything you can do to get your personal story or concerns about building back fossil free and clean air, water, and future, please do.
Okay, Jennifer Linton, can you do a B? You're the second B. And then, did I have anyone who wanted an A? Yeah, Jordan Wong has the A. And I think I saw someone who wanted the C. Yes, Mary Anderson, you have the C. And do we have anybody with a K? I'm going through chronologically. Yes. Is that true? K. Oh, Katrina Little volunteered for a K, but I think Katrina, did you already have one? I think we have enough people. Well, I don't actually know for sure if everybody's participating who's watching this.
Anything you can make a mark on and hold up and take a picture of is good.
Yes. Okay. Ophelia, did I say that right? Can do the K. Thank you. Okay. Rachel said F, so I think that you are on the F of fossil. Cool. And then we need an O. Did anyone claim the O? This is fun as the list gets longer in the chat. I have to scroll back further to see what people claimed. So just say again if you already claimed an O. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to. Looks like Simone is open. Simone, how would you like to do an O? Okay, Katie can do the F of free, but we still need a couple S's. I know that somebody claimed an S, but it was a while ago in the chat and I didn't write it down.
And so, as folks are stepping up, and everyone is encouraged, if you're listening to this, you should push yourself and do a letter. If we run out of letters, you're welcome to just do an image and we'll weave it into the design. Just a simple image of what comes to mind when you say build back fossil free. And I'm showing a couple examples of other organizations that have used virtual banners during the pandemic. The first one is Poor People's Campaign. You can look at a lot of the different letters. There's paper cuts, there's collage, there's markers, crayons, everything. And when you take your picture, that's sort of what we want is the letter. We want to see your face, but we want the letter to fill 2/3 of the space.
Beautiful. I love that you're still showing people's faces and, putting importance on the individuals behind the art and not just the message.
No, the human body and face are powerful. I always tell people who want to tie banners and signs to a wall that there's a reason stores hire people to flip signs, because the human person and body gives it life and animates it. I'm a puppeteer too.
Beautiful.
You'll notice this one on the red background. They actually did the project and they said, okay, everyone choose red and black as key colors. And so when you do this project, and at the end I have resources and I have a kit of how to do it, but you can set up parameters saying, use this type of materials, use these colors, use this technique. And this last one I did was for people not polluters. We were trying to stop the pandemic bailouts going to big oil. And this one I asked artists to do them, and I asked them to use yellow and black particularly. How are we doing on letters, Sarah?
As far as I know, Chloe picks R. We had 2 people claim the S is in the next I. I think we do not have an L of fossil yet. And then I think we got the next F of free. Somebody made a Google Sheet to organize this. So Chloe shared a Google Doc if anyone wants to put their names. And somebody asked, what paper size?
You can do 11 by 17, but honestly, whatever you have, just make sure it fills most of the picture when you take your snapshot.
Yeah.
So
you can hold the
box, fabric, anything that you can make a letter on is perfect.
If all you have is 8.5 by 11, you can just hold it closer to the camera to make it bigger. Mm-hmm. So there's that Google Doc again. I just realized I didn't pick a letter. So if nobody's chosen the R yet, put me down for the R. Because R's are hard. Whoever has I has it easy.
Thank you for maximum multitasking, Sarah.
You're welcome. That's what I do. I was diagnosed with ADHD this year. And I've just, mastered multitasking, and nobody realized that it was an issue until I burnt out.
Speaking of multitasking, I'm going to ask people to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to share some stories, images, and videos while you're making art. And I'm going to see if we can, if you can do this in about 20, 25 minutes so that we can show and tell by the end of the session. And I just put up a couple reasons why, since I was in high school, I've been a grassroots organizer working for social justice and systemic change. And after 15 years of organizing, I got drawn towards organizing artists and performers as part of our movements. And then I said I wanted to do that partly. But as I come to using art for social change as an organizer, because I think it's the most effective and strategic way to win campaigns. And that's been borne out by a lot of the campaigns I've been at. So just a couple of the things that are in my head about why I choose to use art at the center of my organizing is that, as Sarah mentioned earlier, it's a battle of the story. Whoever tells a more powerful story that permeates our community's consciousness wins. And so I think the arts are the most powerful, or can be the most powerful way to tell our stories. And people who use all the forms of arts, poetry, design, everything, music, have the sharpest swords for storytelling. So we really need to center that in our organizing, I believe. Wonderful quote from Ricardo Levins Morales, a wonderful artist from Minneapolis, who says, "Humans are story driven. We make choices according to how we understand the world to be. Art speaks directly to those deep inner spaces where the stories are stored." So, and the folks we're fighting have multi-million-dollar public relations campaigns. That's their counter to our storytelling from our our lives. So we have to be smart and sophisticated to win. Also, as an organizer, participation, using the arts in a way that maximizes participation is one of the best ways I've seen to get people involved, both to build our group, build our movement, and build public participation during public actions. Also, an amazing way to amplify, make sure we're noticed, capture people's imagination, create a spectacle. And I always believe at the end of the day, all we really have to change the world is our voices, the things we make with our hands and our bodies. So the music and the art, the music we make with our voices and our bodies, the art we make with our hands is in conjunction with using our bodies, sometimes protesting, intervening, shutting things down, not cooperating. And then finally, innovate, that we can't just repeat the tactics of past movements and generations. We have to constantly think anew. And I think the process of creating art can lead towards movements being much more innovative. And that's when we have the breakthroughs. So just wanted to share one other story is during the pandemic, early on in the pandemic, people were used to doing group singing. And so I worked with musicians to create a series of virtual choirs. We didn't invent it, but it was a way that we could involve a lot of people most of whom were staying at home at that time in singing. And so a lead musician would sing a track, people would listen to it in their earphones, then record themselves, and an editor would weave it all together. And if it works, let's see, I'm going to see if I can share a video. And it may be that I need to, will this work? Is this audio going to work, Sarah?
Yes.
Stop the money pipeline. Lay our money and our values be aligned. To life and the future we are loyal when we stop the flow of money. When we stop the flow, stop the money pipeline. Lay our money and our values be aligned. To life and the future we are loyal when we stop the flow of money. When we stop the flow, stop the money pipeline. Lay our money and our values be aligned. To life and the
So that was, to me, that was wonderful, and that people were connecting through the internet, through Zoom meetings, but they actually were physically singing with their voices and getting it out there. So I just found that
beautiful.
And I'm just gonna share a couple other projects. My favorite one the last few years has been doing large-scale street murals. You can see the Green New Deal was part of one we did for climate strikes over a year ago. And that one with all these street murals, and we invited a couple dozen groups to each make a giant circle and paint their vision of the solution in the circle. And we did one a week ago Saturday. We had just begun at this time one in front of the Oakland Federal Building around the Line 3 pipeline running through Minnesota that would carry tar sands Canadian oil. And so I'm going to share a video of that, and hoping folks are making some headway on their art letter or their image. And so let's.
Yeah. shout out if you're having any questions about making your image or anything that is being shared, or feel free to use the questions feature to get to make sure it doesn't get lost in the chat. And check the Google Doc. There are a few letters where people didn't fill in, and I'm not sure. I swear we had people all the way up to the word fossil at least, and some of those are blank. So if you're working on one of the earlier letters, click on that link and fill your name in so we don't have a lot of duplicates and somebody gets left out.
If anyone can cross-reference the chat and the Google Doc that's not Sarah, please do. And so last Saturday, we took over the street in front of the Oakland Federal Building, and as part of the national call to get Biden and Harris to cancel Line 3 in the Dakota Access Pipeline, as they did with the Keystone, we painted a giant mural, and this is a video folks made after it last week.
Auntie Karina says ancestors came to her and told her to go protect her sacred site. Ancestors have spoken clearly. The people are rising up to protect the land.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
Sing that with us.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
Listen to their voices.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
Feel that in your heart.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
Listen to the land.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
Find your people.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
All together we sing.
Ancestors have spoken,
Now's the time
now is the
to protect the sacred.
Protect the sacred,
Stop the pipeline. We
ancestors have spoken,
sing it loud.
now is the time.
Sing it strong.
Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
That's right.
Ancestors have spoken,
Come on.
now is the time.
Feel that.
Protect the sacred,
We will.
pipeline.
Come on.
The ancestors have spoken, now is the time.
Now's the time.
Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline.
Hear the voices.
The ancestors have
All
spoken,
together now.
now is the time. Protect the sacred, stop the pipeline. Stop the pipeline.
We will.
Stop the pipeline.
Tell the government.
Stop the pipeline.
We will.
Stop the pipeline. And the water in the river say, no pipeline, no way. And the winds in the sky say, no pipelines, no way. And the fire in our hearts say, no pipeline, no way. And the earth beneath our feet say, no pipeline, no way. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, For the sacred land we honor, we gon' stand up for the water. For the sacred land we honor, the water in the river say, no shots tied and raised, and the winds in the sky say, no shots tied and raised, and the fire in our hearts say, no shots tied and raised, and the earth beneath our feet say, no shots tied and raised. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor. We gon' stand up for the water, for the sacred land we honor.
So just touch on a couple things about that project, which is we were able to involve a dozen very diverse groups, from a bike co-op to Urban Tilth, a youth agriculture program, to Poor People's Campaign, and invite them each to do a circle mural of what their solution is to climate change and injustice. So that was, and we offered them training and set up the supplies. So a great way to involve a lot of people. And then folks who weren't part of groups could volunteer to paint the rest of the street. And with all these projects, I have how-to kits at the back of resources that I'll share with folks. But I'll just share a couple more projects and then have a conversation. This was several years ago around anti-fracking march. We wanted folks around the state to be able to make art together and have it fit together. So we called it Pieces of the Solution. My partner is a 7th grade teacher, so he tested it with her students and they said, we got this. So we knew it would work. And the idea was we'd ask people in the community to make puzzle piece shaped pieces of paper, and they would draw or write about what the solution is to fracking and climate change. And then we would put together the individual drawings on a big puzzle piece. And so we got people from all over the state making the big puzzle pieces and then engaging their community, including folks who maybe couldn't make it out to do the smaller ones. Here's the press conference where we announced on the steps of the state capitol the march with all the art from all over the state displayed. We delivered a puzzle piece to the governor, who wouldn't take it in his office, so sent us to the mail room. So this is Juan trying to figure out how to fit it through the mail slot. And then you can see some of the puzzle pieces on the bottom right became picket signs for the demonstration. So that's, to me, what I'm thinking about is like, what are the different ways we can involve people, have some level of unity, but also allow space for people to share their own ideas. The last thing I do a lot of is an art build. The idea of let's make the making of the art be a mass participation thing. And so these on the two pictures on the left are from the Oakland teachers strike. I had the honor of getting to back them up with mass art making. So most of their picket signs were hand screen printed and hand painted by teachers and students and parents. And it gave a powerful look to it. On the right, working with the local grandmothers group, 1,000 Grandmothers for Future Generations. We just did an art build a week and a half ago around line 3, and we used the art at the mural last Saturday. So it's coming up with projects and having the supplies ready and working with people in different ways, so that because of the pandemic, we're at this point doing smaller numbers in outdoor art builds, or else This is one project we've been doing, is making art and shipping it up to the people doing ongoing protests in the freezing snow of Minnesota against Line 3. So we've been making patches to decorate their clothing, and we've been screen printing it with a few of us, but then giving kits of the screen printed patches for people to take home and hand color in their own, and then gathering them, putting safety pins on and shipping them up. And you can see the water protectors up in Minnesota wearing them. And just the resources. So I'd like to, one, see how folks are doing, hear how folks are doing on their artwork, and also if there's questions, comments, thoughts. And I'm gonna.
I tried talking while I'm muted. That's awesome. So obviously you can throw any, oh cool, comments, questions in the chat. And we can also, if you raise your hand and you want to come on camera and say like, am I doing this right? You can come on camera and hold up your thing. I'm making an E in case we need it. It looks like we had 2 people grab O, and so Simone changed her O into a globe, or her O just is a globe, so that can be used as an image too. If not, that's awesome.
Nice innovation.
So I want to maybe be the first one to share out. So I did an L, if you can see that. Nice 3D
Nice.
L. I can't fuck up a 3D, letter or number, so that's my go-to. And since I'm chatting with you, David, I just want to reiterate how much I love 2 things. The act of teaching people how to do this themselves, the act of teaching them how to screen print or how to use certain art supplies. Because, some of us, even those who might have went to art school like myself, I get a little intimidated by that stuff because I'm a designer, I'm behind a laptop, I push pixels and all that stuff. So, teaching people to feel more comfortable using more analog tools, I think it's awesome because they can then use that beyond your specific art builds and, maybe teach other people how to be more comfortable. And then the last slide that you showed, I also just love how you're creating the materials, the posters, the t-shirts, the screen prints, and you're sending them off to people on the front lines. I love that because I feel like at times people might say to themselves, I want to do more, but I'm not near any sort of environmental issues or things like that. So what can I do? So as designers who are attending right now, can you find those organizations that you can partner up with and say, hey, I can design a downloadable poster, or I can print them myself and then ship them to you, physically ship you posters or t-shirts or things like that. So you're still doing your part, even though you're not, physically there on the front lines. So I just wanted to just underscore those 2 things that you brought up.
Thank you, Mark. Inviting anyone else who has thoughts, comments, or check-ins on how their letter. We'd love to see other people's letters if we can bring them up.
Yeah, so go ahead and raise your hand on the right-hand side of the browser window if you want to come on up and have a little show and tell. Don't be shy.
Mary, oops, am I muted? Mary says, done with my letter, but I have to run. What should I do with my letter?
Email it to me at bsolnit@gmail.com.
So if you can take a picture of you and the letter kind of so they can see your face and the whole letter. So you might need to use your timer on your phone or have somebody take a picture for you and then email it to David's address right there.
And if there's any designers who want to help work on the design, I would welcome that.
So Christine, you are on stage. Do you want to show off your letter?
I don't know if show off is the right term for this, but I'll share it. Okay, I'm one of the S's, so you guys can see it.
Nice.
So I guess it's backwards. Is it backwards?
It's beautiful. It's not backwards for us.
Okay.
Can't have too many rainbows, Jennifer. One thing, I've done a lot of art builds online, and for national campaigns, it's a wonderful way to get people connected. And also for a lot of us, when you have a 30-minute deadline or something to do a project, as opposed to on your weekly things to-do list, it gets done. Often in Poor People's Campaign, we'll mix up making visual art together with singing together and learning songs. So we get the music people doing visual art and the visual people doing singing. Anyone else up for sharing? Or any questions or comments? Rachel.
Hi. So I remembered that I randomly got this calendar mailed to me this week, and it's a bunch of pictures of cars. So I ripped out one of the cars that was like at night out here, and then scribbled over the car and just made a letter L.
Nice.
So if you need more letters, I have more cars. I can do more of that. Oh, and then I also made an F. I'm not finished with this one. It's going to have clouds behind it. So
Beautiful.
this was fun. Thank you.
Anyone else? And also welcome questions or comments. Sasha.
Hello. I'm still working on mine, but I'm just working on collage, and this is my eye that
Nice.
I ended up just doing something weird with because I started in 2 different directions, but I think it still looks like an eye.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I just have like so many old paper sample books lying around, which I no longer even need because I am a digital designer.
Thank you, Sasha. How was that?
Wait, how do you? Oh, hello. Yeah, I was you, and I was like thinking what looks like a U, so I thought a river. So I tried to make it look like a river with like green grass around it.
Awesome.
Okay, that's all. You can take me off the stage.
Who else? Got a few minutes left. Karen.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. Oh, there we go. So I just took my kids' old Lego boxes and my husband's the back of my husband's like Canada Dry 6-pack box and just made it be with paint.
Nice.
Since recycling's racking up.
So, and part of doing this project was so that people would feel comfortable doing it themselves. I usually do it, when I do it on a longer timeline, I do use a Google Doc to have people sign up for their letters. But I know sometimes I do it on Facebook so people can show their letters as they go.
I love this. I have a question for everybody on my letter. So I just randomly grabbed a red marker and started doing stripes. And then I got towards the bottom. I thought, hey, should I put blue and white stars down here like an upside down American flag? Or is that too negative?
For some people, it's a sign of distress.
Yes. Exactly. Thoughts? I have another question for you, David. I think, with all of this direct action and all of the organizing that you've done, if our goal is to get more of the apathetic people to become active, I remember a while ago in the UK, the Extinction Rebellion had done a protest, and they interfered with the tube. And I have a friend who's like, liberal. He's pro climate action, but he's generally pretty apathetic about it. He doesn't do anything himself, and he's British, and he works for like the government in one of the government buildings. And people apparently were really pissed off about that. And, you know, they were just like, you do not mess with the tube. And he's just like, I got to get to work. And, you know, on one side, the direct action wants to be visible and it wants to cause a disruption because that's what brings attention to it. But on the other side, you don't want to get people so pissed that they just think you're terrible and, you know, those awful protesters and start to feed into that narrative. So do you have any advice for how to find that balance?
I mean, I talked with British friends in Extinction Rebellion, and it was a small group that didn't listen to the advice of the larger group. But yeah, I mean, just like with making art with direct action, there's not a guarantee of success. You still have to think about how do we, you know, how do we win the narrative? How do we win over public support? Sometimes you do stuff that's controversial, but you want to have it be so it makes sense to people why you're doing it. You know, and then also different cultures in different countries. In Bolivia, people understand, oh, direct action, that's how we win our rights. But in other wealthier countries, less so. So I think, you know, there's not that much difference between thinking about what's the image and message and story and where are we going to place our bodies to tell a powerful story and win people over.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Any other questions? Any last letters to show and tell? I have to finish mine.
In process is welcome. Can we see where you're at, Jordan? Tanya.
Hello. So I've started off with mine sort of, you know, the nice sky above and the horrible sort of smokestacks below. So I'm not sure if that's the sort of right thing, but you know, there you go. It's my eye.
Very
Beautiful.
nice.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm Sunday morning here. I'm in my dressing gown.
I love it.
I'm going to quickly respond. Jennifer says, how hard is it to get permitting? The murals we do are largely guerrilla murals, which works in some places and not in others. It's based on who you are, where you are. So in the Bay Area, we've gotten a lot of the police forces used to people shutting down streets and painting murals. If it were in New York, we'd probably all be in jail. I'm talking right now with a global climate strike and trying to come up with ways that people can do stuff, do a street mural in countries and cities where they couldn't get away with taking over a street. So suggestions are finding places like a church parking lot, just doing it on the sidewalk, de-escalating your materials. We use clay paint and tempera. You could use chalk. And then in one case in Northern California, we did one to commemorate the North Bay fires using clay and charcoal from the fire itself. And because of the dynamic with the group, local group and the police, we actually laid down a giant canvas and painted it on that, and then we're able to walk away with it when we were done. So thank you so much, Sarah, Mark, climate designers, and thanks everyone for making letters and for your attention and creativity.
Very cool.
Very cool,
So
David. Thanks. For
everybody needs to take a picture of their letter and send it to David. Can you CC Mark and me on that just for fun?
And David, can you put your email address again in the chat, just in case people?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And while that happens, speaking of Extinction Rebellion, on I think it's next Thursday, we have a panel called Designing Protests: Extinction Rebellion and Black Lives Matter: The Power of Branding for Social Change. We have Charlie Waterhouse, who co-founded the Extinction Rebellion's art group. So definitely stay tuned for that. We also have another session going on tomorrow later in the evening, a little dance exercise session with this really amazing woman. So stay tuned and join us for that. David, this is awesome. Appreciate it. We will email you all of our letters, and we will present the final phrase at the start of Monday's session, everyone in the audience. And we'll share it on
David,
social and all that.
if you are missing a letter, let me know and I will track them down.
Okay. Or if someone else sends the letter on, let me know if you want to volunteer if there's a missing one.
Cool.
Very cool. And maybe actually, if people want to put their, maybe go back to that Google Doc with your name next to your letter, put your Instagram handle. We can tag you all.
That would be great.
If you want to do that too. Yeah. So like I said, we're going to reveal it Monday before the first session. All right. Awesome, David. Thanks again.
So excited. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to have you here and be in the presence of somebody who's been doing direct action for so long and learn from you. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for creating this space. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Great. Everyone in the audience, have a good rest of the Saturday. Take care. See you all tomorrow.
Send us your letters.
Yeah, send us your letters. Be well.
Bye.